The night sky shimmered with countless stars, their light painting faint patterns across the desert sands. It was supposed to be an ordinary evening for Alex Carter, a park ranger stationed in one of Earth's most remote regions. He had spent years patrolling this vast expanse of barren land, watching over wildlife, and ensuring no humans disturbed its fragile ecosystem. But tonight, something extraordinary was about to change his life, and perhaps the entire world. At first, it seemed like just another meteor shower. Bright streaks of light sliced through the heavens, leaving glowing trails behind them. People around the globe gathered outside or tuned into live streams to witness the celestial spectacle. However, as midnight approached, something unusual happened. A single object moved differently from the rest. Instead of burning up harmlessly in the atmosphere, it descended steadily, almost purposefully, trailing a soft golden glow rather than fiery red. Alex noticed it immediately. His binoculars trembled slightly in his hands as he tracked the object's trajectory. "That's not normal," he muttered under his breath. Within moments, the mysterious craft slowed down dramatically, defying all logic. Then, with a soundless grace that felt almost otherworldly, it landed on the outskirts of the desert preserve Alex called home. News spread quickly. Satellite images captured the event, and soon every major news outlet was buzzing with speculation. Was it a secret government project, a rogue asteroid, or something far more alien? Military jets scrambled overhead, but before anyone could reach the site, the spacecraft opened. A figure stepped out. She looked young, no older than a teenager, but there was nothing human about her appearance. Her skin gleamed like liquid silver, reflecting the moonlight in mesmerizing waves. She wore a simple tunic-like garment that seemed woven from threads of starlight itself. Her large, almond-shaped eyes scanned the surroundings curiously, taking in the endless dunes and sparse vegetation. Despite her surreal appearance, she carried herself with an air of calm authority. For several minutes, she simply stood there, silent and still. No one dared approach her. Soldiers positioned nearby waited anxiously for orders, unsure how to handle such an unprecedented situation. Reporters shouted questions from afar, though they knew she couldn't possibly hear them. And then, without warning, she spoke, not with words, but directly into the minds of everyone within range. "You are my guide, human." The voice resonated inside Alex's head, clear and melodic, yet tinged with an emotion he couldn't quite place. Shock rippled through the crowd gathered at a safe distance. Some recoiled in fear, others stared in awe. The soldiers tightened their grips on their weapons, uncertain whether to treat her as a threat or a miracle. But what happened next surprised everyone, even Alex himself. Instead of addressing the armed forces or the scientists who had arrived hastily to study her, the girl turned her gaze toward him. Her luminous eyes locked onto his, and for a brief moment, it felt as though she could see straight into his soul. "You," she said again, this time specifically targeting him. "You will help me." Alex froze. Of all the people present, why had she chosen him? He wasn't special. He didn't have advanced degrees, military training, or political influence. He was just a man who loved nature and preferred solitude to crowds. Yet here she was, singling him out as if he held some kind of cosmic significance. Before anyone could intervene, the girl walked toward him, her bare feet leaving faint imprints in the sand. Up close, she seemed even more ethereal. Her presence radiated warmth, but also an undeniable strength. When she stopped mere inches away, she tilted her head slightly, studying him as though trying to decipher a puzzle. "Why me?" Alex finally managed to ask aloud, his voice trembling despite his best efforts to stay calm. Her lips curved into the faintest hint of a smile. "Because you listen," she replied telepathically. "And because your heart is open." Though her words were cryptic, they struck a chord deep within him. Over the years, Alex had always prided himself on being observant, on noticing details others overlooked. Whether it was tracking animal behavior or spotting rare plants hidden among rocks, he trusted his instincts. Maybe that's what she sensed in him, a willingness to understand rather than judge. As cameras flashed and reporters shouted questions, the girl gestured for Alex to follow her. Hesitant but unable to resist, he obeyed. Together, they walked back toward the strange ship, leaving the chaos behind. Behind them, the world watched, wondering what this encounter meant for humanity, and whether Alex truly was destined to become her guide. Little did he know, this was only the beginning of a journey that would challenge everything he thought he knew about himself, the universe, and the potential for connection between vastly different beings. The alien girl, who introduced herself as Lyria, led Alex into the heart of her shimmering spacecraft. The interior was unlike anything he had ever seen. Walls that seemed to pulse with light, surfaces that shifted and changed like liquid, and an ambient hum that resonated softly in his chest. It wasn't cold or mechanical. Instead, it felt alive, almost welcoming. Despite the strangeness of it all, Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of calm wash over him. Lyria's presence radiated a quiet assurance, as if she were silently promising that he was safe. "Why me?" Alex asked again, breaking the silence. His voice echoed slightly within the luminous chamber, though it lacked the usual sharpness of sound bouncing off hard surfaces. He needed answers, desperately. There are scientists, leaders, experts out there. People way smarter than me. Why did you pick me? Lyria turned to face him, her silver skin glowing faintly in the shifting hues of the room. Her large eyes studied him intently, as if searching for something beneath his surface. Finally, she spoke, not aloud, but directly into his mind, her voice clear and melodic. "Because you listen," she repeated, "and because your heart is open." Alex frowned, unsure what she meant by that. Open heart. He didn't consider himself particularly special or insightful. Sure, he cared about nature and tried to live simply, but that hardly made him extraordinary. Still, Lyria seemed convinced, so he decided not to argue further. Instead, he focused on understanding more about her. "What do you need from me?" he asked cautiously. "What does being your guide even mean?" She tilted her head slightly, a gesture that reminded him oddly of a curious bird. "I am here to learn," she explained, "to understand your world, your people, your ways. But I cannot do this alone. You will show me. You will teach me." Alex blinked, taken aback. Teach an alien. Him. The idea felt absurd, yet somehow fitting given how things had unfolded. Before he could respond, Lyria extended one slender hand toward him. At first, he hesitated, unsure what she intended. Then, slowly, he reached out and touched her palm. A jolt of warmth surged through his fingertips, spreading up his arm and filling his body with a strange sensation, a mix of energy and connection. For a brief moment, images flooded his mind. Vast, barren landscapes under twin suns, towering crystalline structures, and beings like Lyria moving gracefully among them. It was her world, or at least part of it. When the vision faded, Alex pulled his hand back, breathing heavily. What was that?" he stammered. "A glimpse," Lyria replied gently, "of where I come from, of why I am here." Her words left him speechless. Whatever her mission was, it clearly involved more than just sightseeing. As they stepped back outside, Alex noticed the growing tension surrounding the ship. Military vehicles had formed a perimeter, their lights flashing brightly against the dark desert. Soldiers stood ready, weapons drawn but lowered, while scientists argued heatedly nearby about protocols and containment measures. Reporters shouted questions from behind barricades, their cameras trained on the scene like predatory eyes. One soldier approached cautiously, holding up a megaphone. "Step away from the craft," he commanded, his voice firm but tinged with uncertainty. "We need to ensure public safety." Lyria glanced at the commotion with mild curiosity, unfazed by the display of force. Without hesitation, she raised her hand, and a soft golden light emanated from her palm. The soldiers froze mid-step, their expressions shifting from aggression to awe. Weapons clattered to the ground as they stared, entranced. Even the reporters fell silent, their cameras capturing every second of the surreal moment. "She's not dangerous," Alex called out, stepping forward protectively. "She hasn't hurt anyone." The soldier lowered the megaphone, visibly shaken. "We don't know what she's capable of," he countered. This isn't natural." "No, it's not," Alex admitted. "But neither is kindness. She chose me to guide her, and I'm going to honor that." His declaration sparked murmurs among the crowd. Some nodded in agreement, moved by his courage, while others exchanged skeptical glances. Regardless, the standoff ended without violence. For now. Reluctantly, the military retreated slightly, allowing Alex and Lyria to continue their journey together. Over the next few days, Alex introduced Lyria to small glimpses of human life. They visited a nearby town, where residents gawked openly at the alien girl walking beside him. Children giggled and waved, unafraid, while adults whispered nervously behind closed doors. Lyria absorbed everything: the architecture, the sounds of laughter and conversation, the sense of food wafting through the air. She marveled at simple things like flowers blooming in gardens and birds chirping in trees. "This is beautiful," she said aloud during one such outing, surprising Alex. It was the first time she'd spoken verbally rather than telepathically. Her voice was soft and musical, carrying a hint of wonder. Alex smiled faintly. "It's just a park." "To you, maybe," she replied, turning to look at him. "But to me, it's proof that life can thrive even in places you might think are empty." As they explored, Lyria began demonstrating abilities that left Alex awestruck. She healed a dying plant with a mere touch, coaxing vibrant green leaves to sprout where none had been moments before. She communicated with animals, soothing a frightened stray dog and earning its trust within seconds. She even manipulated energy fields, creating shimmering barriers to shield them from sudden rainstorms. Each act reinforced the idea that she wasn't just visiting Earth. She was learning from it, adapting to it. Yet, despite her incredible powers, Lyria struggled with aspects of human culture. Emotions baffled her. She didn't understand why people cried when they were happy or laughed when they were nervous. Social norms confused her too. During one awkward encounter, she accidentally offended a shopkeeper by complimenting his merchandise too enthusiastically, causing him to blush furiously. "It's okay," Alex reassured her later. "Humans are complicated. We don't always say what we mean or mean what we say." Lyria nodded thoughtfully. "Your kind is fascinating," she said telepathically. "So much potential. So much chaos." Alex chuckled. "Yeah, that about sums us up." Despite the challenges, their bond deepened with each passing day. Alex found himself growing protective of Lyria, determined to shield her from those who might exploit or harm her. In turn, Lyria trusted him implicitly, relying on his guidance to navigate the complexities of Earth. Together, they became an unlikely team, an ordinary man and an extraordinary visitor united by a shared purpose. Unbeknownst to them, however, shadowy figures lurked in the background, watching their every move. These individuals weren't interested in peaceful coexistence. They saw Lyria as a threat, a resource to be controlled. And soon, Alex and Lyria would have to confront the darker side of humanity head-on. As days turned into weeks, Alex and Lyria's journey took on a rhythm of its own. They traveled across vast stretches of land together, through deserts, forests, and bustling cities, learning from each other in ways neither had anticipated. Lyria marveled at humanity's creativity, resilience, and capacity for connection, while Alex discovered new depths within himself as he helped her navigate Earth's complexities. But beneath their growing bond lay questions that demanded answers. Who was Lyria, really? And why had she come to Earth? One evening, as they sat by a quiet lake surrounded by towering trees, Alex finally worked up the courage to ask. The sky above them shimmered with stars, reflected perfectly in the water below. It felt like the right moment. "Lyria," he began hesitantly, "you've shown me glimpses of your world before, but I still don't fully understand. Why are you here?" For a long moment, Lyria was silent. She gazed at the stars, her expression unreadable. Then, without looking at him, she spoke, not aloud, but directly into his mind, her voice soft yet tinged with sadness. "My people, we are dying." Alex's breath caught in his throat. He hadn't expected such a blunt admission. "Dying," he echoed. "What do you mean?" She turned to face him then, her luminous eyes filled with both pain and determination. "Our planet is no longer able to sustain life. The air is toxic, the soil barren, the waters poisoned. We have tried everything to heal it, but it is too late. Our civilization is fading, Alex. If we do not find a new home soon, my people will vanish forever." The weight of her words settled over him like a heavy blanket. For all her calm demeanor, Lyria carried the burden of an entire species on her shoulders. No wonder she seemed so serious, so focused. Her mission wasn't just about exploration. It was about survival. "But why Earth?" Alex asked gently. "There are billions of planets out there. Why choose ours?" Lyria hesitated before answering. When she did, her voice carried a note of reverence. "Your world is unique. It pulses with life, with energy. Your ecosystems are interconnected in ways even my people cannot replicate. And," she paused, glancing down at her hands, "there is something else. An ancient prophecy among my kind speaks of a human guide who will help us restore balance, not just for us, but for all beings." Alex frowned, processing this revelation. "A prophecy? You mean fate led you to me?" "Perhaps," she replied cryptically. "Or perhaps it was simply chance. Either way, I believe you were chosen for a reason. You see things differently, Alex. You care deeply about harmony, not just between humans, but between all forms of life. That is rare, even among your kind." Her words stirred something deep within him, a mix of pride and unease. He wanted to believe he could make a difference, but the scale of what she was asking felt overwhelming. Helping one alien girl adjust to Earth was one thing. Assisting an entire species in finding a new home was another entirely. Before Alex could respond, Lyria stood and walked closer to the edge of the lake. She knelt down, dipping her fingers into the cool water. As ripples spread outward, she closed her eyes, focusing intently. Moments later, the surface of the lake began to glow faintly, as if lit from beneath. Tiny fish swam toward her hand, brushing against her skin as though drawn by some unseen force. "This planet gives freely," she murmured aloud. "It shares its gifts without hesitation. My people forgot how to live like this, with gratitude, with respect. We took too much, gave too little. Now we must learn again, or perish." Alex watched her in silence, struck by the depth of her regret. Despite her otherworldly nature, she was profoundly human in her emotions, in her longing for redemption. It made her plight feel real, tangible. But not everyone shared Alex's empathy. Back in the shadows of society, whispers grew louder. Governments debated whether Lyria posed a threat to Earth's security. Corporations eyed her advanced abilities greedily, dreaming of harnessing her technology for profit. Conspiracy theorists claimed she was a harbinger of doom, sent to prepare Earth for invasion. Even ordinary citizens were divided. Some saw her as a savior offering hope, while others viewed her as a danger best contained. These tensions came to a head when Alex and Lyria visited a small farming community struggling with drought. The crops were wilting, the soil cracked and dry. Desperate locals pleaded for help, unaware of the miracle standing among them. With Alex's encouragement, Lyria stepped forward. Kneeling in the parched earth, she placed her hands on the ground and closed her eyes. A soft golden light emanated from her fingertips, spreading outward like ripples in water. Within moments, green shoots began pushing through the dirt, growing rapidly into healthy plants. The once barren fields transformed into lush rows of corn, wheat, and vegetables. Cheers erupted from the crowd, followed by tears of relief. Farmers embraced their families, thanking Lyria profusely. Word of the miracle spread quickly, drawing journalists, scientists, and curious onlookers to the site. For a brief moment, hope surged, a reminder that Lyria's arrival could bring blessings rather than curses. However, not everyone celebrated. Among the throng of visitors was a man in a dark suit, his face obscured by sunglasses. He observed the scene silently, taking notes on a tablet. His name was Agent Marcus Hale, and he represented a secretive government agency tasked with monitoring extraterrestrial activity. To him, Lyria wasn't a savior. She was a resource to be controlled. That night, as Alex and Lyria camped under the stars, distant helicopters circled overhead, their searchlights cutting through the darkness. Lyria glanced upward, sensing hostility in the air. "They are coming for me," she said softly, her tone resigned. Alex clenched his fists, anger flaring inside him. "They can try," he growled. "But I won't let them take you." Lyria smiled faintly, touched by his loyalty. "You cannot fight them alone, Alex. But thank you for believing in me, for seeing me as more than just a tool." Her words lingered in the cool night air, a reminder of the challenges ahead. As dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of gold and pink, Alex realized their journey was far from over. Together, they would face whatever came next, but they wouldn't face it alone. The morning after the miraculous restoration of the farmland, Alex and Lyria found themselves at the center of a media storm. News outlets around the world broadcast footage of the event, hailing Lyria as both a savior and an enigma. Social media exploded with hashtags like #AlienMiracle and #HopeForEarth, while scientists debated whether her abilities could be replicated to combat global crises. Yet, not everyone celebrated her actions. Skeptics questioned her motives, accusing her of manipulating humanity for unknown purposes. Conspiracy theories flourished, painting her as everything from a divine messenger to an alien spy sent to prepare Earth for invasion. Amidst the chaos, Agent Marcus Hale tightened his grip on the situation. His agency, known only by its cryptic initials, GDA, had been monitoring extraterrestrial activity for decades, though most dismissed their existence as science fiction. To Hale, Lyria wasn't just an anomaly. She was a potential weapon. Her ability to heal ecosystems, manipulate energy fields, and communicate telepathically represented untapped power that could tip the scales in favor of whoever controlled her. And he intended to ensure it was his government, not some rogue faction or foreign adversary, that gained control. Hale's team tracked Alex and Lyria relentlessly, using drones, satellites, and informants scattered across the countryside. They intercepted communications between local authorities and environmental groups eager to meet Lyria, planting seeds of doubt about her intentions. When rumors surfaced claiming she might use her powers destructively, fear began to spread faster than gratitude. Some towns refused to let them enter, barricading roads and posting armed guards. Others welcomed them cautiously, torn between hope and suspicion. One evening, as Alex and Lyria rested in a secluded forest clearing, they heard the unmistakable whirring of helicopter blades slicing through the air. Moments later, bright spotlights pierced the darkness, illuminating the trees around them. A voice boomed over a loudspeaker. "Step away from the alien entity. This is a restricted zone. Surrender peacefully." Alex instinctively stepped in front of Lyria, shielding her from view. "Stay behind me," he whispered urgently. His heart pounded as soldiers emerged from the shadows, their weapons trained on them. Despite their aggressive stance, none fired. A sign, perhaps, that they weren't willing to risk harming Lyria without orders. Lyria placed a calming hand on Alex's shoulder. "Do not fear," she said telepathically. "I will not allow harm to come to you." Before Alex could respond, Lyria raised her hand slowly, palms outward. A soft golden glow emanated from her fingertips, spreading outward in gentle waves. The soldiers froze mid-step, their expressions shifting from hostility to awe. Weapons clattered to the ground as the men stared, entranced by the serene light enveloping them. Even the helicopters hovered uncertainly, their pilots unsure how to proceed. What's happening? One soldier stammered, lowering his rifle. I mean no harm, Lyria replied aloud this time, her melodic voice carrying clearly despite the distance. I am here to help, not to hurt. The standoff ended abruptly when Hale's voice crackled over the radio, ordering his team to regroup. Though visibly frustrated, the soldiers retreated, leaving Alex and Lyria alone once more. As the helicopters disappeared into the night sky, Alex turned to Lyria, his expression troubled. That won't be the last time they try to take you, he said grimly. They're scared of what they don't understand, and greedy for what they can't control. Lyria nodded solemnly. Fear and greed are powerful forces among your kind. Alex sighed, running a hand through his hair. Yeah, and they're dangerous ones too. We need to figure out a way to prove to people that you're not a threat, that you're here to help. Over the next few days, Alex and Lyria devised a plan. Instead of hiding or running, they would confront humanity's fears head-on. Their first step was to address the public directly, bypassing intermediaries like governments and corporations who sought to twist their narrative. With Alex's guidance, Lyria agreed to participate in a live broadcast, an unprecedented opportunity for her to speak directly to the world. The event took place in a modest community hall packed with reporters, activists, and ordinary citizens curious to see the alien girl up close. Cameras flashed incessantly as Lyria stepped onto the stage, flanked by Alex. Her silver skin shimmered under the harsh lights, drawing gasps from the audience. For a moment, silence reigned as everyone waited to hear what she would say. My name is Lyria, she began, speaking aloud rather than telepathically. Her voice carried a quiet strength that silenced even the most skeptical critics. I come from a distant world, a world that has suffered greatly because we failed to protect it. My people are dying, and I have come to Earth seeking a new beginning. But I do not seek to conquer or exploit. I seek harmony. She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. Your planet is precious. It is alive, vibrant, and full of potential. Together, we can restore what has been lost, not just for my people, but for yours as well. All I ask is trust. Trust that I mean no harm. Trust that together, we can create something beautiful. Her speech sparked a wave of emotion in the room. Some listeners wiped away tears, moved by her sincerity. Others nodded in agreement, inspired by her vision of coexistence. Even cynical journalists softened slightly, unable to deny the authenticity in her words. But not everyone was swayed. As the broadcast aired globally, protests erupted in major cities. Activists argued that allowing Lyria to intervene in Earth's affairs could disrupt delicate balances, while corporate leaders accused her of undermining human ingenuity. Meanwhile, shadowy figures within GDA doubled down on their efforts to capture her, convinced that her technology held the key to unprecedented power. Despite the backlash, Alex remained steadfast. He knew Lyria's message resonated with many. It had certainly resonated with him. As they left the community hall, surrounded by supporters offering thanks and encouragement, Alex felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, humanity wasn't beyond redemption after all. You did great, he told Lyria as they climbed into their makeshift vehicle. People listened. That's a start. She smiled faintly, though her eyes betrayed lingering worry. Yes, it is a start, but there is much work ahead. Alex nodded, gripping the steering wheel tightly. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. After all, they had each other, and the fragile yet unyielding bond between two worlds determined to find common ground. The days following Lyria's public address were a whirlwind of change. Her plea for trust and cooperation struck a chord with millions around the globe, sparking movements that transcended borders, languages, and ideologies. Environmental activists rallied behind her vision of healing Earth's ecosystems, while ordinary citizens organized grassroots efforts to support her mission. Social media buzzed with hashtags like #HarmonyWithLyria and #RestoreYourWorld, turning her into an unlikely symbol of unity in a fractured world. But it wasn't just words. Lyria acted. With Alex guiding her, she traveled to some of Earth's most devastated regions, using her abilities to reverse years of environmental damage. In Brazil, she restored vast swaths of rainforest that had been ravaged by deforestation, coaxing ancient trees to grow back within days. In India, she purified polluted rivers, bringing clean water to villages that had long relied on contaminated sources. In Australia, she revived coral reefs bleached white by rising ocean temperatures, breathing new life into fragile marine ecosystems. Each act of restoration drew crowds of onlookers, many of whom wept openly at the sight of their homelands being reborn. Farmers whose fields had been barren for decades embraced their newly fertile soil. Fishermen returned to once dead waters, hauling nets brimming with fish. Children played among greenery where only dust and desolation had existed before. It was as if Lyria carried hope itself in her hands, spreading it wherever she went. Yet, not everyone celebrated these miracles. Corporate interests, threatened by the implications of her work, launched smear campaigns accusing her of undermining human progress. If we let aliens fix our problems, what happens to jobs, to innovation? One CEO argued during a televised debate. Others raised concerns about dependency. What would happen when she eventually left? Would humanity regress without her guidance? Even governments struggled to reconcile their awe with their fears. While some leaders praised Lyria's efforts, others grew increasingly wary of her influence. Secret meetings took place behind closed doors, where officials debated how to regulate, or even restrict, her powers. Agent Marcus Hale, still determined to control her, pushed for stricter measures, insisting that her presence posed a threat to national security. "She's rewriting the rules of nature," he warned his superiors. What happens when those changes spiral out of control? Despite the backlash, Alex refused to let negativity overshadow Lyria's achievements. He became her staunchest advocate, speaking out against those who sought to exploit or vilify her. During interviews and community gatherings, he reminded people of the lessons they could learn from her, not just about healing the planet, but about living in harmony with it. "She's showing us what's possible," Alex told the rapt audience during one such event. "We don't need advanced technology to save our world. We need compassion, patience, and respect for each other and for the Earth itself. Lyria isn't here to replace us. She's here to inspire us." His words resonated deeply, especially among younger generations who saw Lyria as a beacon of hope for the future. Schools began teaching lessons based on her philosophy of interconnectedness, encouraging students to think beyond profit margins and toward sustainability. Artists painted murals of her shimmering form surrounded by lush landscapes, while musicians composed songs celebrating her message of renewal. Slowly but surely, a cultural shift began to take root. For Lyria, however, the growing adoration came with its own challenges. As more people looked to her for answers, she found herself overwhelmed by the weight of their expectations. She often retreated to quiet places, a secluded mountaintop, a hidden grove, to recharge and reflect. During these moments, Alex stayed close, offering comfort and reassurance. "You're doing amazing things," he told her one evening as they sat beneath a canopy of stars. "Don't let the pressure get to you." "It is not the pressure that troubles me," she replied telepathically, her voice tinged with sadness. "It is the division. So many humans see me as either savior or destroyer. Few understand that I am simply trying to help." Alex nodded thoughtfully. "Humans aren't great at seeing shades of gray. We like things black and white. It's easier that way." "Perhaps," she said softly, "but your kind is capable of so much more." You create beauty, build connections, dream of possibilities. That is why I believe in you." Her faith in humanity touched him deeply, reinforcing his resolve to protect her from those who wished to harm or exploit her. Together, they continued their journey, navigating both triumphs and trials with unwavering determination. As weeks turned into months, the impact of Lyria's actions became undeniable. Global temperatures stabilized slightly as reforestation efforts gained momentum. Air quality improved in cities once choked by smog. Wildlife populations began rebounding, filling forests and oceans with sounds of life. Scientists marveled at the speed of recovery, attributing it to Lyria's unique abilities, but also to the renewed sense of purpose she inspired in humanity. Yet, amidst the progress, shadows loomed on the horizon. Reports emerged of rogue factions attempting to replicate Lyria's techniques through artificial means, often with disastrous results. One such experiment triggered an ecological collapse in Eastern Europe, prompting widespread panic. Critics pointed fingers at Lyria, blaming her for setting unrealistic standards that humans couldn't meet without catastrophic consequences. Through it all, Alex and Lyria stood firm, refusing to let fear dictate their path. They knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but they also knew they weren't walking it alone. With every forest restored, every river cleansed, and every heart touched, they proved that even in the face of doubt and division, hope could light the way forward. And somewhere, deep within the cosmos, others watched silently, waiting to see whether Earth would rise to meet the challenge or falter under the weight of its own contradictions. The calm that had settled over Alex and Lyria's efforts was shattered one fateful evening, when a massive fleet of ships appeared in Earth's orbit. The news spread like wildfire, sparking panic across the globe. Satellites captured images of the vessels, gigantic, sleek structures that glimmered ominously against the blackness of space. Unlike Lyria's small, unassuming craft, these ships radiated power and purpose. Their presence was undeniable proof that she wasn't alone. Within hours, every major government scrambled to respond. Emergency meetings were convened, military forces mobilized, and evacuation plans hastily drafted. News anchors delivered urgent updates around the clock, their voices trembling with uncertainty. Speculation ran rampant. Were these ships allies or invaders? Friends or foes? Lyria stood on a hilltop overlooking the city, her silver skin reflecting the faint glow of streetlights below. Her expression was unreadable as she gazed upward, her large eyes fixed on the distant fleet. Beside her, Alex felt a knot tighten in his stomach. For weeks, they had worked tirelessly to heal Earth's wounds and build trust between humans and Lyria. Now, it seemed their fragile progress might be undone in an instant. "They've come for me," Lyria said quietly, breaking the silence. This time, she spoke aloud rather than telepathically, her voice carrying a note of resignation. "My people." Alex turned to her sharply. "Your people? You mean they're here to take you back?" She nodded slowly. "They have been searching for a new home, a place where my kind can survive. I was sent ahead to find such a world." "But you found Earth," Alex replied, his tone tinged with desperation. "And you've shown us how to heal it. Doesn't that count for something?" "It does," she admitted, lowering her gaze. "But survival is not so simple. My people are desperate. They will do whatever it takes to ensure their future, even if it means taking what they need without asking." Her words sent a chill down Alex's spine. He had always known Lyria's mission was tied to her species' survival, but he hadn't considered the possibility that her arrival might lead to conflict, or worse, colonization. The thought of Earth being stripped bare to sustain another civilization filled him with dread. Before either of them could say more, a deep hum resonated through the air, vibrating in their chests. A holographic projection materialized before them, a towering figure clad in shimmering armor, its face obscured by a visor-like mask. Its voice boomed, telepathically, echoing inside their minds. "Lyria of Clan Solari, your mission has reached its end. Report to us at once. Lyria stiffened, her hands curling into fists at her sides. I cannot obey, she replied firmly. Earth is already inhabited. Its people are capable of restoring balance, if given the chance. The figure paused, as if considering her response. Then, its tone grew colder. You underestimate our plight. Our planet dies with each passing cycle. We have no choice but to act. If humanity resists, we will remove them. Alex stepped forward instinctively, positioning himself between Lyria and the projection. No, he shouted, his voice cracking with emotion. You don't get to decide who lives or dies. You can't just waltz in here and take everything. The armored figure tilted its head slightly, studying Alex with detached curiosity. You speak boldly for one so insignificant. Do you truly believe your species deserves salvation? I believe we deserve a say. Alex shot back, his fists clenched. Lyria's been helping us fix our mistakes. Together, we've started healing this planet. Why should we give it up now? For a moment, there was silence. Then, the figure raised a hand, and the projection flickered out, leaving only darkness behind. Alex exhaled shakily, realizing he'd just challenged an entire alien armada. Beside him, Lyria placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. Thank you, she whispered. But bravery alone won't stop them. Alex shook his head stubbornly. There has to be another way. You've seen how much humans are willing to change. We're flawed, sure, but we're trying. Isn't that worth something? Lyria hesitated, her gaze drifting toward the horizon. She knew Alex was right. Humanity had shown glimpses of hope and resilience, but she also understood the desperation driving her people. They weren't evil, they were scared, and fear often led to rash decisions. We need to talk to them, Alex pressed, sensing her hesitation. Explain what's happening here. Show them what we've accomplished together. Maybe they'll listen. Lyria considered his words carefully. Finally, she nodded. Very well, but we must act quickly. My people will not wait forever. Together, they devised a bold plan. Using her ship's advanced technology, Lyria transmitted a message directly to the fleet, requesting an audience with their leaders. To Alex's surprise, the response came swiftly. An invitation to board one of the larger vessels orbiting Earth. Though the prospect terrified him, Alex refused to let Lyria face her people alone. When they arrived aboard the flagship, they were greeted by a council of elders, stern-faced beings whose appearances mirrored Lyria's, though their expressions were far less welcoming. The chamber they entered was vast and dimly lit, filled with glowing consoles and hovering displays. Despite the grandeur, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that they were being judged and found wanting. One elder stepped forward, addressing Lyria directly. You disobeyed your orders, it stated flatly. Instead of securing this world for our survival, you chose to aid its inhabitants. Explain yourself. Lyria stood tall, meeting the elder's gaze without flinching. I followed the prophecy, she replied. It spoke of a human guide who would help restore balance, not just for my people, but for all beings. I have fulfilled my duty. The elder frowned deeply. Balance? What balance remains if our kind perishes? That's why we're offering a solution. Alex interjected, stepping forward despite Lyria's subtle attempt to hold him back. Why fight over one planet when we can work together? Teach us your ways, and we'll share ours. Together, we can create harmony, not just here, but wherever your people settle next. The elders exchanged glances, clearly intrigued yet skeptical. One leaned closer, studying Alex intently. You propose coexistence, after centuries of war and greed among your own kind. It's not perfect, Alex admitted, but it's possible. Look at what Lyria's done already. With her help, we've started fixing our planet. Imagine what we could achieve if we worked alongside you. After a long pause, the lead elder straightened, its expression softening ever so slightly. Your words carry weight, human. Perhaps there is wisdom in choosing cooperation over conquest. But know this, failure is not an option. If we entrust Earth to your care, you must prove yourselves worthy stewards. Lyria placed a hand over her heart, bowing respectfully. We will honor this agreement. Both our peoples will rise, or fall, together. As the council deliberated further, Alex allowed himself a small measure of relief. They had taken the first step toward peace, but the journey ahead would test everyone involved. Still, standing beside Lyria, he felt a spark of hope. If two worlds could find common ground, perhaps anything was possible. Back on Earth, news of the tentative truce spread cautiously, met with equal parts relief and skepticism. Some celebrated the prospect of unity, while others feared betrayal. Yet, amidst the uncertainty, one truth remained clear: humanity's fate, and Lyria's, was now intertwined with the stars above. The agreement forged between humanity and Lyria's people marked the beginning of an unprecedented chapter in Earth's history. The elders aboard the flagship had agreed to suspend their plans for immediate colonization, granting humanity a chance to prove its worth as stewards of the planet. In return, Lyria's people promised to share their knowledge and technology, not as conquerors, but as partners. It was a fragile alliance, built on trust that could shatter at any moment, but it carried the seeds of hope for both civilizations. As the massive fleet remained in orbit, monitoring Earth's progress, Lyria chose to stay behind temporarily. She believed her role as a bridge between the two worlds was far from over. Alex, too, knew his journey with her wasn't finished. Together, they became ambassadors of sorts, liaisons tasked with ensuring cooperation and understanding between humans and aliens. The first steps toward collaboration were challenging. Governments struggled to adapt to the influx of advanced alien knowledge, which ranged from sustainable energy solutions to methods of ecological restoration. Some leaders embraced the changes eagerly, seeing them as opportunities to heal centuries of damage. Others resisted, fearing the loss of power or autonomy. Corporations, once eager to exploit Lyria's abilities, now grappled with the ethical implications of integrating alien technology into human systems. To address these tensions, Alex and Lyria traveled across the globe, fostering dialogue and demonstrating the benefits of coexistence. They visited schools where children learned about ecosystems through interactive simulations provided by Lyria's people. They attended conferences where scientists worked alongside alien experts to develop cleaner energy sources, and they joined grassroots movements determined to implement sustainable practices inspired by Lyria's teachings. One particularly moving moment occurred in a small coastal village devastated by rising sea levels. With guidance from Lyria's people, engineers constructed floating habitats designed to rise and fall with the tides, allowing residents to live safely without abandoning their homes. As the villagers celebrated their new way of life, tears streamed down faces weathered by hardship. For many, it was proof that unity could overcome even the most daunting challenges. Yet, not everyone welcomed this newfound partnership. Rogue factions emerged, driven by fear and distrust. Protesters gathered outside government buildings, chanting slogans like "Earth for Humans" and "No Alien Rule." Acts of sabotage targeted joint projects, delaying progress and testing the patience of both species. Agent Marcus Hale, still clinging to his belief that Lyria posed a threat, quietly funded some of these groups, hoping to undermine the alliance. Despite these obstacles, Alex refused to give up. He knew that change often came slowly and painfully, but he also knew it was worth fighting for. During moments of doubt, he reminded himself of all they had accomplished together. Forests, once barren, now teemed with life. Rivers once polluted flowed clear again, and hearts once hardened by cynicism began to soften, opening to the possibility of a brighter future. Lyria, too, faced her own struggles. Many among her people questioned her loyalty, accusing her of prioritizing humans over her own kind. Some even suggested she had been corrupted by Earth's influence. Yet she stood firm, believing that true strength lay not in domination but in harmony. "You've changed me," she admitted one evening as they sat beneath a canopy of stars. Her voice carried a mixture of gratitude and wonder. "Before I came here, I saw survival as the only goal. But you've shown me that life is more than just enduring. It's about thriving, about connection." Alex smiled faintly, touched by her words. "And you've changed us. You've reminded us what it means to care for each other, for the planet, for the future." Their bond had grown deeper over time, transcending the boundaries of species and culture. Though neither spoke of it openly, there was no denying the affection they shared, a quiet understanding that went beyond words. To Alex, Lyria wasn't just an alien guide. She was a friend, a partner, and a beacon of hope. To Lyria, Alex represented humanity's potential, the capacity to grow, adapt, and dream of something greater. As weeks turned into months, the initial skepticism surrounding the alliance began to fade. Success stories poured in from every corner of the globe, proving that cooperation yielded results far greater than conflict ever could. Deserts bloomed into fertile plains. Endangered species rebounded under renewed conservation efforts. Even the air seemed cleaner, carrying the scent of renewal rather than despair. Eventually, the elders aboard the flagship deemed Earth ready to stand alongside Lyria's people as equals. In a ceremony broadcast worldwide, they announced the formation of a joint council dedicated to preserving balance, not just on Earth, but throughout the cosmos. Humanity would take its place among the stars, contributing its unique perspective to a growing interstellar community. Though Lyria prepared to rejoin her people, she promised to remain connected to Alex and Earth. "This isn't goodbye," she said during their final moments together. "Our bond will endure, no matter the distance. You are my guide, Alex, and always will be." As her ship ascended into the heavens, Alex watched with a mix of pride and longing. He knew their paths might never cross again, but he also knew her impact would linger forever. The world she had helped transform stood as a testament to her vision, a vision of unity, resilience, and hope. In the years that followed, humanity continued to rise to the challenge. Guided by the lessons Lyria had taught, they embraced their role as guardians of Earth, striving to honor the trust placed in them. And though the stars above remained vast and mysterious, they no longer seemed so distant. For the first time, humanity looked to the cosmos not with fear or envy, but with a sense of belonging. Underneath the same sky where her journey had begun, Alex gazed upward, smiling softly. Somewhere out there, Lyria was watching too, her heart intertwined with his, her faith in humanity shining brightly like a guiding star. Together, they had proven that even in the face of uncertainty, courage and compassion could light the way forward. And so, the story of Alex and Lyria became legend, a tale of two worlds united by a shared dream of harmony. A new dawn had broken, casting its glow across the universe, reminding all who witnessed it that hope, when nurtured, could illuminate even the darkest void.